Alrighty, folks, we're 6-0 with a push in our last 7 extra daily picks on my premium page. And the good news is I've got another extra daily pick going off here for Saturday. That play's already posted and ready for access in the post section. And if you sign up for my extra daily pick, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to my daily best play each and every day during that time frame, absolutely free. It's going to be included with your membership. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick time out and welcome you to my free pick video here today for Saturday, March 29th, 2025. Happy Saturday to you. Hopefully you had a great start to the new weekend. And if you're joining me for the first time here today, my name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on YouTube since 2016. Of course, if you want to access all of my premium selections, you may want to think about signing up for my full access, all-inclusive Gold Club membership. Gold Club members get access to every single premium selection of mine, Excuse me. Didn't get any on me. All right, let's try to sell something again. If you want to get access to all of my premium selections, you may want to think about signing up for my full access, all-inclusive Gold Club membership. Gold Club members get access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And folks, I currently have over 2,265 members who are signed up and active on my premium page right now. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. Going to start off in college basketball, Texas Tech taking on Florida. That'll be a 6:09 Eastern tip-off. Florida's -6, totals 156.5. Now, the Gators are 33-4 on this season. They have not lost a game in the month of March. The Gators are averaging over 85 points a game for the year, third in the country in offensive rebounds. Doing a great job getting second chances. Alex Condon snags over 7.5 boards a game, double-digit points per contest. And Walter Clayton, he's scoring over 17.5 points a game himself, 85% from the stripe. But listen, it's not just all offense for the Gators. They play some pretty tough defensive ball as well. Florida's holding their opponents to just 69 points a game, 39% shooting from the field. And they're facing a Texas Tech squad who's struggled covering the number here recently. They failed to cover in 4 out of their last 5 games. Failures to cover against the likes of Arkansas, Arizona, and Baylor. They're also averaging just 18 free throw attempts per game. They're actually in the bottom third, not bottom 3, but they're in the bottom third in the country in that category. Just not doing a great job getting to the stripe. I think the Gators continue to roll here. Give me Florida -6. Next game, Alabama-Duke, 8:49 East. Duke's -6.5, totals 174. Now, Duke's 34-3 on the year, looking pretty good on both ends of the court. The Blue Devils covered the point spread in 7 out of their last 10. Duke's averaging nearly 85 points a game on offense. They rarely turn the ball over. When it comes to shooting the basketball, well, Duke's a top 20 field goal shooting team, averaging double-digit 3 balls per contest. Proctor and James, they're making 41% of their long balls. Cooper Flagg gets 19 points per contest. Of course, on the defensive end, the Blue Devils have been incredibly tough to score points against. Duke's allowing only 62 points per contest, 38% shooting from the field. And they're taking on a Bama squad who failed to cover recently against Robert Morris and Florida twice. I like Duke -6.5. All right, moving on. NBA, Kings, Magic, 5 o'clock East. Sacramento's -1, totals 218.5. Sacramento's 2 games below 500. Orlando's 4 games under 500 themselves. When it comes to offensive play, well, the Magic's averaging a league worst 104 points per contest. No real surprise, they're dead last in shooting from three land. And they're facing a Sacramento squad who definitely rebounds well on the defensive end of the court themselves. They're 7th in the league in defensive boards per game. Meanwhile, on the offensive end, the Kings are a top 10 point scoring team, 3rd in shooting from the stripe. De'Aaron Fox is averaging 25 points a game, 5 boards, 6 assists. Meanwhile, Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis, they're knocking down 40% of their 3 balls respectively. Now, Jake LaRavia is day-to-day for Sacramento. Cole Anthony questionable for Orlando. 5 out of the Magic's last 7 did get over the total. Sacramento contest went 60% to the over in their last 10. I like Sacramento -1 over 218.5. Next matchup, Nets Wizards, 7 o'clock Eastern tip. Brooklyn's -2, totals 220. And on the offensive end, well, Brooklyn's averaging just 105 points a game. They're dead last in field goals made per contest. And they're facing a Washington club who covered the number recently against Philadelphia, Denver, and Detroit. Jordan Poole averages 20 points a game, 88% from the stripe. And Alex Sarr, he's scoring 13 points a game himself, 6 boards, couple assists. Middleton, Gill, Smart, George, and Brogdon are questionable for Washington. Watford, Williams, and Clowney day-to-day for Brooklyn. Nets games went 6-3 to the under in their last 9. Washington with unders recently against Toronto, New York, and Portland. I like the Wizards +2, under 220. Next matchup, Heat, Sixers, 7:30 p.m. East. Miami's -7.5 away from home, totals 221 and a hook. Miami's 9 games under 500, but Philly's just 23-50 themselves. The Sixers are currently on a 6-game losing streak, 1-9 straight up in their last 10. When it comes to defensive play, Philly's letting their opponents knock down nearly 50% of their field goals against them. They're the second worst 3-point guarding team in the league. And they're taking on a Miami squad who's done a nice job against the point spread recently. Covers in their last 5 straight. Covers against the likes of Golden State, Houston, and Detroit. When it comes to defensive play, the Heat 7th in points given up, 1st in free throws allowed. Now, injury-wise, Love and Robinson are questionable. Walker, Oubre, Drummond, Maxey, and Lowry are day-to-day. Sixer contest went 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Miami with overs recently against Atlanta, Charlotte, and Detroit. I like Miami -7.5, over 221.5. All right, next matchup, Celtics, Spurs, 8 o'clock East. Boston's -12, totals 229. Boston 54-19 on the year, but they do have a losing record against the point spread. And more recently, the Celtics failed to cover against the likes of Brooklyn and Oklahoma City. Now, when it comes to defensive play, the Celtics are in the bottom 5 in turnovers, bottom 3 in steals. And they're taking on a San Antonio squad who looks like there we go. Where's it at? Is it not on our big screen behind me? Yeah, there it is. They're taking on a San Antonio squad who doesn't turn it over a whole lot on offense themselves, and they do like shooting the deep ball. The Spurs are currently in the top 10 in three-pointers made per game. De'Aaron Fox is averaging just about 20 points a game with the Spurs, 4 boards, 6 assists. And Harrison Barnes knocks down 41% of his attempts from beyond the arc. Now, when it comes to the numbers, San Antonio's gone 6-3 against the point spread in their last 9. Covers against the likes of Cleveland, Toronto, and Philadelphia during that stretch. Bassey's questionable for the Spurs. Tatum and Tillman day-to-day for the Celtics. Boston saw overs recently against Phoenix, Portland, and OKC. Spurs games went 60% to the over in their last 10. I like San Antonio +12, over 229. Next matchup, Lakers, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock East. The Lakers are -1.5, totals 237. Now, both teams are 44-29 on the year, identical records. Plenty of unders between both organizations. The Lakers saw unders recently against Chicago, Milwaukee, and Phoenix. Memphis on the other side went 60% to the under in their last 10. Now, the Grizzlies are currently 6th in defensive field goal percentage. Lakers are 6th in guarding the deep ball. When it comes to the injury list, Hachimura is questionable for Los Angeles. Kleber's still banged up. Meanwhile, for Memphis on the other side, Bagley and Morant are day-to-day. I like the under 237. All right, next contest. Pacers, Thunder, 8 o'clock East. Thunder's minus 9.5, totals 240 and a hook. OKC's 61-13 on the year, 31-5 at home. Meanwhile, Indy has a losing record against the point spread this year, losing record on the road. And speaking of the number, Indy's had a tough time covering over the past handful of weeks. They went just 3-7 against the spread in their last 10, bottom 5 in defensive field goal percentage. And they're facing an OKC squad who's 4th in scoring, 1st in shooting from the foul line. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is 90% from the stripe, 32 points a game for him. Meanwhile, Lou Dort and Isaiah Joe, they're shooting 40% from three-land combined. OKC with overs recently against Charlotte, Philadelphia, and Boston. Meanwhile, Indiana games went 5-3 to the over in their last 8. I like OKC minus 9.5, over 240 and a hook. All right, next and final NBA breakdown. Mavericks, Bulls, 8 o'clock East. Chicago's minus 2.5, totals 238. The Bulls saw overs in 5 out of their last 7. Overs against the likes of Denver, Lakers, and Kings. Chicago's making over 15.5 three-pointers a game, 6th in points per contest. Nikola Vucevic, he's averaging 18.5 points per game, 40% from three-land. And Kobe White scoring 20 points a night himself, 90% from the foul line. They're facing a Mavs team who saw overs in 9 out of their last 10 themselves. They're in the top 5 in free throws made. I think we could see some points in this one. Give me the over 238. All right, moving into some Major League Baseball. Brewers, Yankees, 105 Eastern first pitch. The Yankees are minus 145, totals 8.5. Max Fried expected on the bump for the Bombers. Nestor Cortes for Milwaukee. And Cortes is coming off a 9-10 campaign with the Yankees last year. Missed the All-Stars in his past 2 seasons. He's taking on Max Fried, who definitely looked good in Tampa during the spring. Did I say Tampa? Max Fried looking good. Yeah, in Tampa. That's where they play their spring games. Sorry. They play, actually been to Steinbrenner Field, but yeah, anyway, that's where the Rays are playing right now, by the way. But anyway, yeah, Max Fried looked good in Tampa during the spring for the Yankees. 3.38 ERA, .81 whip. Fried was an all-star selection with Atlanta in 2 out of his last 3 years. Actually had a 3.25 ERA in 2024, 1.16 whip. Looking like windy and warm in the Bronx here tomorrow. Could see an afternoon shower in the later innings. I like the Yankees minus 145, under 8.5. All right, next game, Angels, White Sox, 2:10 p.m. East. The Angels are minus $1.60 on the road, totals 8.5. Jose Soriano for Los Angeles, John Cannon for the White Sox. And even though Cannon's had a rough go of things in the bigs, I don't have a whole lot of faith in this Angel lineup. This is a pricey number to lay with the Angels. Of course, on the mound, Jose Soriano's got a losing record through 2 seasons with the Angels. It was a 6-7 campaign last year, 1-3 the year before out of the bullpen. I think the White Sox can certainly keep this one close at home. I hate this price point for the Angels, laying 60 cents on the road with a lackluster lineup. Once again, seems it's going to be windy and wet in a lot of places. Looks like we could see some rain. Definitely going to be blustery in the south side tomorrow. Not overly conducive to an offensive affair. I like the White Sox plus 1.5, under 8.5 runs. Next matchup, Twins, Cards, 2:15 East. Minnesota's $1.20 on the road, total 7.5. Joe Ryan for the Twins, Eric Fedde for St. Louis. Now, Fed's had a good spring training through 6 starts. 3.72 ERA through 19-plus innings. Fedde finished last season with a 3.30 ERA and a 1.16 whip. That was between 2 teams. He's facing Joe Ryan here today, who was working out a few kinks in the spring. Ryan had a 5.54 ERA through 4 starts. And as good as Ryan threw in 2024, well, he still ended up finishing the year with a lackluster 7-7 record. Once again, windy and possibly wet in the LAL tomorrow. But despite the weather, I think the Cards end up handling Ryan and this Minnesota bullpen here on Saturday. I like the Cardinals plus $1 over 7.5. Next game, Orioles, Blue Jays, 3:07 East. Toronto's $1.25, totals 8.5. Max Scherzer for the Jays, Dean Kremer for Baltimore. And the righty Kremer struggled in spring training. It was a 7.27 ERA through 5 starts. 6 homers he allowed during that span. And listen, to be fair, over Kramer's last, 5 seasons with the O's, he's had an ERA of 4 or higher in each and every one of those seasons except for one. And he's going to have to try and outduel Max Scherzer, who had a 1.38 ERA in the spring. He plays those spring games like the regular season games. It was actually a 1.15 whip through 9 starts last year in that abbreviated season. Looks like Mad Max is back to his original form. This guy just doesn't age. The man hasn't had an ERA in the 4s since 2011. I like Toronto minus $1.25, under 8.5. Next matchup, Phillies, Nats, 4:05 East. Philadelphia's $1.55, totals 8.5. Jesus Luzardo for the Titans, Jake Irvin for Washington. Now, Irvin's got a career 4.49 ERA through 2 seasons with Washington. Actually recorded 14 losses last season with the Nats. And he's going to face a Philly lineup who will probably strike out 15 times a game and end up still shelling your bullpen. Harper and Schwarber with homers in the opener. Alec Boehm with a multi-hit game. And they have newcomer Jesus Luzardo on the hill, who's had a whip of 1.24 or better in his last 3 seasons. Now, weather-wise, breezy and warm at game time. Looking at 80-plus degrees in the nation's capital tomorrow. Maybe that's why I'm feeling so congested. Got some weird weather here on the East Coast. It'll be pretty warm tomorrow. Give me Philadelphia minus $1.55, over 8.5. Next game, Rockies, Rays, 4:10 p.m. East. Tampa Bay is $1.95, totals 8. Zach Littell for the Rays, Antonio Senzatella for Colorado. And despite a solid spring, I still have no faith in Senzatella. Only 5 starts in the past 2 seasons. Those outings were not good. Antonio's got a career ERA nearly in the 5s. Of course, at the plate, the Rockies have had a handful of guys who went hitless in Friday's game against Tampa Bay. And they're going to have to face the big man, Zach Littell, who's thrown pretty well for Tampa Bay over the past few seasons. Littell actually started 29 games last year and finished with an ERA of 3.63. It's going to be hot and breezy at Steinbrenner Field. Speaking of which, Rays are playing their home games once again at the Yankee spring training site this year. Should be, they were actually... Saw some clips. There was a guy holding the sign, "Sell the team." And the owner was right up in the outdoors section. He was right there making eye contact with him. But I don't know if he should sell the team. But bad situation in Tampa. They went to the wild card a few years back and sold like 9,000 tickets for a wild card game. It was pathetic. But yeah, should see a solid evening to see that ball fly. Should be a nice night in Tampa. Give me the Rays minus 1.5, over 8. Next game, Guardians, Royals, 4:10 p.m. East. KC's $1.25, totals 8.5. Seth Lugo for Kansas City, Gavin Williams for Cleveland. Now, Williams had a good spring for the Guardians, 2.08 ERA and 17 plus. 26 strikeouts during that span, .98 whip. Of course, at the plate, Kyle Manzardo went 3 for 4 in the opener with a homer and 4 ribbies. Stephen Kwan also had a multi-hit game and scored a run. They're facing Seth Lugo, who had a shaky spring despite several solid seasons recently. Lugo allowed 3 home runs and 11 earned runs through 18 innings of work in the spring. And at the plate, Johnny India and Hunter Renfroe, they're 0 for 9 combined, and they've yet to record a total base. Windy and warm in Kauffman Stadium Saturday. Could potentially get a little wet in the latter innings. I like Cleveland plus 105, over 8.5. Next game, Giants-Reds, 4:10 p.m. East. Cincinnati's minus $1.25, totals 8.5. Nick Lodolo for the Reds, Justin Verlander for San Francisco. Now, we did see 10 total runs in the opener between these two teams. Friedel, Candelario, and Encarnacion Strand, they had multi-hit games for the Reds. Meanwhile, for the Giants on the other side, Flores and Ramos had homers on opening day in that win. Mike Yastrzemski with a multi-hit game as well. Weather-wise, could be a wet one at the Great American Ballpark. We're seeing possible showers in the morning and in the evening. But it should end up staying somewhat dry during the game. I don't know. Weather's unpredictable. I like the over 8.5. All right, next matchup, Pirates-Marlins, 4:10 p.m. East. Pittsburgh's minus $1.25, totals 8.5. Bailey Falter for Pittsburgh, Valente Beazo for Miami. Now, Beazo made 13 starts for the Marlins in 2024. Looked pretty good in those outings. He had a 3.67 ERA through 68 plus. And at the plate, Stowars and Edwards, they got on base a couple of times for the Marlins in the opener. Runs scored by each of those guys as well. The Marlins actually got the 5-4 victory over the Skeens-led Pirates. And at the dish, the Bucks were just not good enough in the opener. Only 4 hits on the day for the Buccos. Cruz, Bart, and McCutchen, they went hitless in that contest. And Pittsburgh's got Bailey Falter on the hill here for Saturday. Shaky spring training, shaky couple of seasons over the past few years. Falter's got a career 18-23 record, ERA of 4.62. I like the Marlins plus 105, over 8.5.
These guys do.
Next matchup, Red Sox, Rangers, 7:05 East. Both teams are minus $1.10, pretty much a coin flip in this one, totals 9. Tyler Mahle for the Texas Rangers, Walker Buehler for Boston. Buehler had a good spring for the Bo Sox. He's got a career 3.27 ERA. Meanwhile, Tyler Mahle, well, he had a 3.71 ERA through 5 spring training starts, 1.11 whip. The season opener between these two squads saw just 7 total runs. I like the under 9. Next game, Mets-Astros, 7:15 East. Houston's $1.25, totals 8.5. Spencer Arrighetti for Houston, Griffin Canning for New York. And despite a solid spring, Canning's got a career 4.78 ERA, 1.33 whip. But listen, if you think Houston's in the clear, well, starting pitcher Spencer Arrighetti, he's been more of a, at least last year, he was more of an innings eater than anything for Houston. He had a 7-13 record last year through 29 games, 4.53 ERA. I think we could potentially have a fun one at Minute Maid Park. Dakin Park? Changed the name this year, I think. Give me the over 8.5. All right, next game, Braves, Padres, 7:15 East. Atlanta's minus $1.40, totals 8. Spencer Schwellenbach for Atlanta, Randy Macho Man Vasquez for San Diego. Now, Vasquez had a 3.38 ERA through a handful of spring training innings. He's backed by a solid lineup of hitters. The Pods put up 7 runs in an opening day win against Atlanta. And overall, there's really not much I can nitpick about Schrellenbach on the other side. This is a really good young arm. And the Braves are a good ball club. They're strong in pretty much every position. But my biggest gripe is that these Atlanta hitters, they do tend to strike out an awful lot. I like this price point with the Pods at home here. This is a really good ball club. Give me San Diego plus $1.20, under 8. Next contest, Cubs, Diamondbacks, 8:10 Eastern start. Arizona's $1.20, totals 8.5. Brandon Pfaadt for Arizona, Shota Imanaga for Chicago. Now, Imanaga has 4 scoreless innings under his belt already this year. He pitched in that Tokyo series last week, gave up no runs on no hits, had some control issues in that start, but was able to get out of that game unscathed. Of course, at the plate, the Cubbies put up 10 runs in the series opener against Arizona, and they're facing Brandon Pfaadt, who had a lackluster spring, career ERA in the 5s. I like the Cubbies plus $1, over 8.5. Next game, Tigers, Dodgers, 9:10 p.m. East. The Dodgers are the $2 favorite, totals 8.5. Roki Sasaki for Los Angeles, Reese Olson for Detroit. Now, Olson's got a career 3.75 ERA through 2 seasons with the Tigers, whip of 1.15. Listen, I'll cut right to the chase. I like the Tigers keeping this one close. They covered the run line in the series opener. Going to see a lot of run line money on the Dodgers, and I think that square play, I think you're going to pay for it. I don't think it comes through. I like Detroit plus 1.5, under 8.5 runs. All right, next and final baseball breakdown. Athletics, Mariners, 9:40 p.m. East. Seattle's $1.55, total 7.5. Bryce Miller for the Mariners, Ozzie Beto for the Athletics. Now, Beto allowed a handful of homers in the spring, 7.02 ERA. He's facing Bryce Miller, who had a solid 2024 campaign. 2.94 ERA through 31 starts last year, .97 whip, 171 strikeouts. I think the A's are going to struggle at the dish in this one. Give me Seattle minus $1.55, under 7.5. All right, couple of NHL games we're going to break down here, starting with the Sabres at the Flyers, 1 o'clock East. Philadelphia's minus $1.20, total 6. Sam Ersson in the net for Philly, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for Buffalo. Now, UPL's got 23 wins on the season and a pair of shutouts. And more recently, the Sabres got the W in 6 out of their last 9. They're led by Tage Thompson with 36 goals, 63 points. Meanwhile, Alex Tuch, he's a plus 11 when he's on a shift, 53 points for him. They're facing a Flyer club who's in the bottom 5 in goals allowed, losing record at home. Netminder Sam Ersson has a goals against average of .313, save percentage in the 800s. 3 out of the Flyers' last 5 at the Wells Fargo Center did get over the total. Buffalo with overs recently against Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, and Utah. I like Buffalo plus $1, over 6. Next game, Islanders, Lightning, 2 o'clock East. Tampa Bay's minus $2.25, total 6. Andre Vasilevsky for Tampa Bay, Ilya Sorokin for New York. And even though Sorokin's been solid, he's facing nearly 30 pucks on net a game. Of course, as a team, the Owls lost their last 3 straight, just 3 and 6 straight up in their last 9. They're facing a Tampa squad who scores more goals a game than any other team besides one. Nikita Kucherov, second in the league in assists and points. Gensel and Point with 72 goals between the both of them. 6 out of Tampa's last 10 got over the total. New York 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. I like the Lightning minus 1.5 over 6. Next game, Blues Avalanche, 4:30 p.m. East. Colorado's minus 210, totals 5.5. Mackenzie Blackwood for Colorado, Jordan Binnington for St. Louis. And despite some decent stuff out of Binnington, the Blues just aren't getting enough pucks on net on offense. They're in the bottom 5 in offensive shots on goal. And out of their last 10 gatherings with Colorado, the Blues have been held to just 2.4 goals a game. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. They're facing a Colorado team who they actually do more than just stop pucks. They're a good defensive team, and on the other end of the ice, they're getting 30 pucks on net a game on offense. Got a record of 25, 10, and 2 on their home ice. Nathan MacKinnon leads the league in assists and points. Arturi Lekkonen's a plus 33. That's 4th best in the league. The Avs saw overs in 3 out of their last 5 at home. 60% to the over in their last 10 at any location. I like the Avalanche minus 1.5 over 5.5 goals. Next contest, Devils Wild, 6 o'clock East. Minnesota's minus $1.25, totals 5.5. Phil Gustafson for the Wild, Jacob Markstrom for New Jersey. Markstrom's 23-14, goals against average of .251. These New Jersey defensive lines, well, they're allowing only 26 shots on goal a game. They're actually in the top 5 in the league in fewest goals allowed. And they're taking on a Minnesota squad who's in the bottom 5 in goals per game themselves. Of course, more recently, the Wild took the loss against the likes of Vegas, Dallas, and St. Louis. Minnesota games went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. I like New Jersey, plus 105, under 5.5. Next game, Golden Knights, Predators, 6:30 p.m. East. Vegas is $1.55, total 6. Ilya Samsonov for the Golden Knights, UC Saros for Nashville. Saros is just 18-28 between the pipes, .897 save percentage. And no real surprise here, folks. Nashville is in the bottom 10 in goals allowed. And unfortunately for them, they're facing a top 5 goal-producing team in the Golden Knights. Jack Eichel's got 64 assists and 90 total points. Eichel's a plus 31, which is 8th highest in the league. And Mark Stone's got 45 assists himself, 2nd on the roster in points. Now, total-wise, the Golden Knights saw overs in 6 out of their last 10. I like Vegas minus $1.55, over 6. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. Blue Jackets Senators, 7 o'clock Eastern, puck drop. Ottawa's $1.90, total 6.5. Linus Ullmark for the Sens, Daniil Tarasov for Columbus. And even though Tarasov's had his struggles, the Blue Jackets have been a solid puck line covering team. They're also in the top 10 in goals per contest. Marchenko leads the roster in goals. Zach Werenski with the most points. They're facing an Ottawa team who failed to cover the puck line in 3 out of their last 4 at home. As a matter of fact, the Senators are covering in just 34% of their games this year in their own barn. Ottawa with unders in 3 out of their last 4 contests. I like Columbus plus 1.5, under 6.5 goals. And with that, folks, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Give me Florida minus 6, getting the job done against Texas Tech. Duke minus 6.5 against Alabama. I'm 6-0 with a push on my last 7 extra daily picks on my premium page. NBA, Kings minus 1, over 218.5. Washington plus 2, under 220. Miami Heat minus 7.5, over 221 and a hook. Spurs plus 12, over 229. Under 237 in that Lakers-Grizzlies game. Thunder minus 9.5, over 240 and a hook. Over 238 in that Dallas-Chicago matchup. Baseball, Yankees minus 145, under 8.5. White Sox plus 1.5, under 8 and a hook. Cardinals plus $1, over 7.5. Toronto minus $1.25, under 8.5. Phillies minus 155 over 8.5 runs. Tampa Bay minus 1.5 over 8. Guardians plus 105 over 8.5. Give me the over 8.5 in that Giants-Reds game. Marlins plus 105 over 8.5 runs. Under 9, Red Sox-Rangers. Over 8.5, Mets-Astros. San Diego plus $1.20 under 8. Cubs plus $1 over 8.5. Tigers plus 1.5 under 8.5 runs. Mariners minus $1.55 under 7.5. NHL, Sabres plus $1 over 6. Tampa Bay minus 1.5 over 6 goals. Avalanche minus 1.5 over 5.5 goals. New Jersey plus 105 under 5.5. Vegas Golden Knights minus 155 over 6. Give me the Columbus Blue Jackets plus 1.5 under 6.5 goals. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And if you do end up getting a membership here today on my premium site, just a friendly reminder, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame absolutely free. They're going to be included with your membership. That's why I always tell folks, that Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. But most importantly, folks, gotta thank you for joining me right here on the free video. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, folks, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.